I remember growing up playing the N64. There was one game in particular that I absolutely loved. It was called 1080 Snowboarding. I had a friend who lived across the street, and one day he asked, after playing it over my house, if we can trade games for a few days. He loved it that much. He had some other N64 game that I don't even remember anymore, and I agreed to the trade, unfortunately, because a couple of days went by and I started missing 1080. So I walked over to his house, knocked on his door, and asked if we could trade back. That's when he told me he lost my game. I said, what? Even as a kid, I knew something didn't feel right. I couldn't prove it, but I always believed he just wanted the game for himself. After all, 1080 Snowboarding was an amazing game. You can testify to that in the comments if you've played it, but there wasn't much I can do. I couldn't search his house. I couldn't force him to give it back. All I could do was take his word for it, and I was devastated. I lost my game. I was hurt by that, but when I think about it, looking back, I was actually losing something that I owned. That cartridge was mine. I could hold it in my hands. When it didn't work a little bit, I blew into the cartridge. I know everyone used to do that. I could put it into the N64 whenever I wanted to play it. The game was complete. No updates, no downloads, no online requirements, no servers. It was a finished product that existed entirely in my possession. And 1080 Snowboarding wasn't the only game like that. There were countless games across N64, Dreamcast, GameCube, the original PlayStation and Xbox that defined an entire era of gaming. When you bought a game, you owned a game. It sat on your shelf and you could lend it to a friend like I did. You could sell it. You could revisit it years later and it would still work exactly as it did the day you bought it. But today, that world is disappearing, man. In fact, I can argue that it's already gone. What we're witnessing right in front of our faces is like the transformation of ownership itself. For decades, gaming was built around products. Today, it's increasingly built around services. Physical copies are disappearing and digital forefronts are becoming the default. Subscription services continue to grow, like live service games dominating the conversation, and entire libraries of games now exist on accounts instead of shelves. And from a business perspective, it makes perfect sense. Digital distribution eliminates manufacturing costs, shipping costs, it eliminates retailers taking a percentage of every sale, and it eliminates the used game market that once allowed players to buy and sell games without publishers seeing a dime. So for publishers, digital distribution offers more control and often more profit. It's a smart move, but that efficiency comes with trade-offs. Today, many players don't actually own their games in the same way previous generations did. They own licenses, access, permissions tied to accounts and ecosystems. Because a game can be delisted just like that. A server can shut down, content can be removed, and features as well. Entire experiences can become inaccessible despite the fact that players pay for them. What's interesting is that younger generations of gamers have largely grown up with this system. They don't even know about what we've been through. So downloading games and logging into accounts, pretty much relying on online services, is completely normal to them. But for those of us like me who grew up during the cartridge and disc era, the change feels significant because we've experienced both worlds. The nostalgia is real, man. But it's about more than that. We're moving from ownership to access, from actual products that we can feel. There's something else. It's no longer a concrete experience. And I want to ask you, is this ultimately good for gaming culture? We're actually looking at a paradigm shift here. Digital gaming has unquestionably made games more convenient and more accessible. Yes, we can purchase titles instantly and developers can patch problems. New content can be delivered continuously. And, communities can stay connected for years. But at the same time, something was lost. That permanence, the perseverance. And I know a lot of you just, you can't appreciate that. You just can't because you didn't experience it. But it gave you a feeling that made it as if it truly belonged to you. And as we continue moving further into this all digital future, I think it's worth asking something. Are we gaining more than we're giving up? Because whether we like it or not, we're entering a completely different era of gaming. And look, before anyone says, well, that's just nostalgia talking, I actually can understand why the industry is moving in this direction. Because if I were running a gaming company, I'd probably do the same thing. Think about it. Why would a company spend money manufacturing discs and printing cases, shipping games all over the world, and giving retailers a cut of every sale when they can just sell them directly, digitally? All those costs go out the window. In fact, Sony recently announced that starting in 2028, new PlayStation games will be digital only, and their reasoning was straightforward. Most players are already buying games digitally, so from a business standpoint, this makes perfect sense. The problem is that what's good for a business isn't always the same thing as what's best for gaming culture, because somewhere along the way we stopped asking a really important question. What exactly are we buying now? When I bought 1080 Snowboarding on the N64, I owned that game. I owned the Dreamcast I bought and the GameCube. And today, I'm not always sure that's true anymore. Today, I feel like we're buying access. But I know I have to sit down and accept this eventually. I have to understand that this is the reality of the future of gaming. This is the evolution. It's happening right now and it's been happening. But I'm indifferent. I don't think it's entirely good nor entirely bad. I think it's both. Gaming today is more accessible than it's ever been, like I said, okay? But it's also becoming more dependent on companies. That being said, this is a double-edged sword, okay? Because think about it. Consoles are getting more expensive. Sony's already getting a lot of backlash for how expensive the next iteration of the PlayStation will be. And with that, subscriptions are becoming way more common. And I really want to know how they're going to deal with this, because if we eventually become all digital anyway, why am I even buying a console? And I don't think that's an unfair question. Years ago, the answer was easy. You bought a PlayStation because PlayStation had games you couldn't get anywhere else, console exclusives. You bought an Xbox because Xbox had games you couldn't get anywhere else. Same with Nintendo. But today, whatever game comes out on Xbox is going to be on PC because it's Microsoft. Many PlayStation games eventually make their way to PC as well. Crossplay is becoming more common, so the lines between platforms are starting to blur. And when that happens, the value proposition of a dedicated console changes. Now, before anyone twists my words, I'm not saying consoles are going away tomorrow. Far from it. Millions of people still prefer simplicity of sitting on a couch, turning on a console, and playing games without worrying about hardware, drivers, settings, or upgrades. Because let's be clear, you have to maintain a PC. I just replaced my graphics card last month, and it was annoying trying to find one in a reasonable price range that was actually good. It really takes maintenance if you want to use a PC. Also, GTA 6 is coming out exclusively on PlayStation, and I don't know when it's going to come out on PC. There's a reason for that, but I do think console culture is changing. I remember the time when people identified as Nintendo players or PlayStation players, Xbox as well. There were entire communities formed around those ecosystems. There was like a sense of identity there, right? Today, it feels like we're slowly moving towards a giant digital ecosystem where the hardware matters less and less every year. And maybe that's the future. Maybe 10 years from now, most people will be playing through cloud services, handheld devices, smart TVs. Why am I saying this as if it's further in the future? People are already doing this, man. And I mean, if that's where gaming is ultimately headed, then maybe consoles don't disappear. Maybe they just end up being diverted into something like an access point into the same digital world. You know, evolution, like I said. But that's exactly why this conversation matters, because it's about what gaming loses and what gaming gains as it evolves. Every generation of gaming leaves something behind. The arcade era did, cartridges did, and the disc era did. And now it feels like the console era is beginning to change into something else entirely. Whether that's exciting or concerning probably depends on who you ask, but one thing seems pretty clear to me. The next generation of gamers is going to grow up with a completely different idea of ownership than the one many of us grew up with. And when they look back at gaming 20 years from now, they may not remember shelves full of games, midnight launches, swapping discs with friends, or cartridges sitting under a television. They're just gonna remember something far more underwhelming. Libraries and subscriptions, cloud saves. That's not epic at all. I mean, to me, it's not. Either way, we're watching one era of gaming come to an end while another one begins right in front of our faces. Let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. This is just something I wanted to talk about because I've been in this space almost all my life. I've been a gamer for that long and a content creator for the past 6-7 years. So I want to hear your thoughts about it. I'm definitely moved by this, whether it goes one way or the other. But that'll do it for this one, fam. I appreciate you listening to me until the end. Like the video if you like this conversation, and subscribe to my channel for more. I'll see you in the next one. Be right out.